If your success requires burnout, that is not success. That is mismanagement. I'm Bianca Burke, and welcome to the Maven Matriarch podcast. This is where we build women, we build mothers to be the leaders, the best leaders in their home, in business, and especially within themselves. I welcome you back. First and foremost, I want to celebrate. We are at 10 subscribers. That is amazing. Um, this is beautiful. It's truly the foundation of a movement here at the Maven Matriarch. And every empire was built with their first brick. And that's what these 10 subscribers means for us, right? And it's very excited. I am so very grateful to each and every one of you. And it truly means that we are aligned on a lot of different levels, energetically, spiritually, emotionally, right? Practically, right? We are all in this together. Now, not sure if you noticed, but it's been a few weeks since I uploaded a video. Um, I my I've not been well. My whole family was sick, even my dog. So it I took time to fully be present for myself and my family. And I thought that, energetically it was something I needed to do. I've been recalibrating, and now I feel like I am back and I am so much more powerful for you. So let's get into it. So, as we work through Q1, right? January, February, March, as we work through this time of the year, the theme I've come up with is, who am I becoming, right? That is foundational. And this is a good theme for this part of the year because, you first have to know who you are now and who you're becoming in order to step into that identity fully and really stabilize into that identity. And as you know, spring comes upon us and towards the end of March. And for me, I feel like that was designed that way for a reason, right? Um, so it's fitting that the theme is, you know, dismantling who you are right now and who you want to be and who you're becoming. And this brings me to what this episode is about, which is standards over hustle. Okay. And it has a lot to do with your identity and who you are and who the identity that you stand in. Okay. Because we're sold the idea that exhaustion equals success. And I'm so sorry to say that that is not the case. Now, it doesn't mean it can't happen, but you will find that it equals poor leadership, especially within yourself. We're taught that if we're not exhausted, that means we're not doing enough, right? It's as if we wear that exhaustion badge, exhaustion like a badge of honor, right? And today we're going to talk about, why hustle culture is it's become outdated, especially for women, especially for mothers, because it's not built for mothers, right? It's not built for sustainable power. Okay. Uh, and I want to talk about standards and why standards is truly what creates power. Okay. So with hustle culture, right, we know that hustle culture is go, 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 grind, grind, grind. Let's get it, right? It is very linear. It is force based, right? A lot of times, even on a monetary level, it's based off of like lack mentality as well. You feel like you need to put it in. It's about output, output, output at all costs. And that's one of the reasons why I like to think of hustle culture as a very masculine trait, a masculine culture. And it is very outdated, especially for women, because it's not designed for us, right? It rewards urgency over longevity. And it truly contrasts with the way feminine femininity leads, right? Because we are cyclical. hormonally. So for me, there was a time where I did everything right, right? I stayed busy, I did the things, I was always worried. I stayed productive, I stayed exhausted. Okay. And, mostly that was up here, right? In my mind, I was truly, suffering from the mental overload of becoming, of being the best, of doing. I was always doing. And, always overthinking caused me to constantly worry. And that led me to have debilitating anxiety. That's where I feel it stemmed from. I suffered from this anxiety and I could not relax. Everything I felt that I wanted, I felt like I needed to work hard. I needed to work hard and fast and a lot, right? Nothing would go the way that I thought it would, no matter how hard I worked, right? And I realized, you know, eventually that I wasn't broken. It was just my model needed a little bit of recalibrating, right? I needed to shift something. My family was sick with the flu, and I took time, to rest. With all of the things that I do on a daily basis, I my old self would have stressed and gone crazy and was like, okay, whoa, I need to put out my podcast. Oh my gosh, I have, assignments this hand in for my MBA program. Oh, I have this to do. Oh, I have that to do for my business. But that was the old me. The now me realized and acknowledged that, hey, I needed to rest. I needed to heal. I needed a time to reset and to pause. And that was a boundary that I gave myself because I am someone who goes, I honor myself because I know that I'm someone who goes within to recharge. I honored that standard within me and I know I needed to step back, take a moment, and I know that that's okay. And that's the difference between the old me and this me. And in my healing journey, I not only balanced and worked on healing my internal narrative, but I grew and structured my life to reflect it, right? Because hustle says push, 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 push harder. But standards, when you have standards and set those standards and go by those standards, then it says choose better. So that was the biggest transformation for me. And that was a great example because the old me would have dealt with that something completely different, right? It was making choices and decisions from my standards, and I needed to do that, and I'm better for it. And now I know I mentioned that hustle is a masculine thing, right? And it's not that women can't hustle, right? Clearly, we do and we can. The question is, why would we? It's not our nature to do that. Feminine energy receives, right? We are patient. We are calm. We are the receivers, right? And these standards are not rules. They're not like strict set rules. They're just pre-decisions. They help you make your decisions from a place that honors who you are. So before you even make a decision, they set the precedent of those decisions and what those decisions will be. They remove the chaos, they protect your energy, and they keep you out of that reaction mode, right? And then the path becomes clearer. So I want to break it down by pillar. And these are four of the main areas that significantly are important in our lives, right? So first is motherhood. Motherhood says my standard is simple. My child gets the regulated version. For example, I don't rush my mornings, right? My child gets my regulated nervous system. My standards don't necessarily mean perfection because, as we know in motherhood and in parenting, there's no such thing, right? They do, however, equal presence, and presence is my standard. Let's talk about marriage and partnerships. Very important because if you love someone, right, but you don't have standards, that is not love. It's not real love. It's just putting up with things that you should not be tolerating. And I've learned that firsthand. I can tell you that. Standards around tone are important. Time, repair after conflict. That's a big one. Communication, huge. And respect, absolutely important. I do not negotiate respect ever. My husband and I have been with each other for over 15 years. And we've established a long time ago that when we disagree, if we disagree, we don't go low and we speak to each other with respect always. That was something that we established very early on in our relationship. And I urge you to do the same. That standard is key. The next pillar is health, sleep, nourishment, movement, right? All important. And a woman who is exhausted, especially as a mother in motherhood, right? This is inevitable, right? You lose sleep. When a woman is worn out and running on empty, it's easier for the world to push her around, right? Whether it's society, companies, that you work for, just everyday demands. So take care of your health, have standards for your health, right? The next pillar is, last but not least, money. No under earning for us over here, right? We're not selling ourselves short. We know our worth, we know our value, we operate from it, and we command it. Okay. Right? We're not scrambling last minute, and we're not making financial decisions from urgency or fear. You say to yourself, everything I do is intentional and I am worthy of who I am becoming. Okay. Standards are how powerful women stay sovereign. Now let's talk about your nervous system. Your nervous system is very important and you need to ground it in regulation. Okay. Get it used to these standards, right? Hustle keeps you in fight or flight mode. And if your nervous system stays in that mode, everything in your life will reflect it. Instead, standards create that safety for you. It creates that predictability for you, which is important. And safety is what allows discernment. When you have a regulated nervous system, you make better decisions, you attract better opportunities to you. Calm attracts better opportunities. And when you're calm, really, you're able to see the opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities. A regulated nervous system models emotional leadership for your children. And that's why it's so important for mothers to work on this because we are raising human beings. In order for you to raise a well regulated, a discerning, a whole human being capable of making their own decisions, you need to regulate your own nervous system because they feed off of that. Children learn leadership through that regulation. Now, a big standard for yourself is saying no. And I mentioned this in past episodes before, how important it is to normalize your boundaries. Over explaining is a trauma response. And I've mentioned this in past episodes that I have responded that very way. And sometimes I have to catch myself even today, you know, and tell myself, no, you don't need to do that. No is no, that's it. Right. And I know firsthand about this. I remember seeing, um, someone say no is a complete sentence. And I'll never forget that. I say that all the time. And I always remember that when I feel the need to explain myself for my response. Confident women say no without needing to defend themselves. There are other ways to say no than just no, right? With respect, say, I've decided differently. Thank you, but I've decided differently. Or, that doesn't work for me. For, you know what, I'm not available for that. And that's it. You don't owe context, you owe clarity. Just be clear. Okay. And if no makes someone uncomfortable, then that is not your problem. That is a them problem. You just enforced a boundary and you should be proud of yourself for doing that. So, in closing, I want to prompt you to reflect on this. Where are you hustling right now instead of holding your standards? And then what would change if you raised your bar just a bit, just a couple notches, instead of raising your effort or raising your workload? The Maven matriarch does not hustle. She sets her standards and life adjusts. That is the beauty of the divine feminine energy. I just love the theme of who am I becoming. It just fits right now because standards only work when you know who you are. I want to invite you to choose one standard to implement this week, just one, right? And watch how much less explaining you do. Until next time, we'll see you then.